Ruggiero, big labor guy. Talk to us about what your agenda already looked like coming into the session up at the State House and how this might impact labor here as the dust settles.
Well, I think it won't have a tremendous impact. Having the opportunity to work with Dominic for many years in his capacity working with the laborers union, he's always had an emphasis on economic development and economic development specifically around construction. And so what I see is just more of that, moving forward. It's supporting initiatives that will continue to spur Rhode Island's economic comeback. Dominic was instrumental in pushing through the Roadworks legislation. He was also, the driving force behind the I-195 Commission to redevelop the Knowledge District. So, implementing and continue to make sure that those programs come to fruition, as well as anything that can enhance the comeback, will continue to be a focus for us as the building trade. So our mission hasn't changed, but I still think, with the team that we've got there, we had a great relationship with Madam President Paideweed. I'm really happy for her. I'm sad to see her go, but I know that Dominic is more than capable to fill those shoes, and I really look forward to working with him as well as the Speaker and the Governor, because at the end of the day, it's everybody's best interest to make sure that we give Rhode Island what it deserves, which is a vibrant economy.
The team effort. And you did mention one thing that I was hoping to get an update on. You mentioned Roadworks. Mm-hmm. And where are we with that? And what does that look like? I mean, what are the jobs that we're looking at for Roadworks?
Well, I had the opportunity to meet with Director Alvidi about a week or so ago and get a forecast of what we're looking at this year, and a snapshot of 3 to 5 years out. Mm-hmm. Currently, there are 6 bids that are being reviewed right now at the Department of Transportation for the installation and operation of the gantries, mm-hmm.
which
we anticipate will be awarded sometime in the near future, summertime, late spring, early summer. And then implementation and construction of those gantries by the end of the year, and the starting of the Roadworks program, boots on the ground construction in 2018. And then, that 10-year program out the door, we'll probably be looking at, $4 billion worth of construction, 200 and some odd bridges, and all the facts that we've analyzed through the whole program. And we're on the cusp of a busy time to really do what all Rhode Islanders have been asking for a long time, which is modernize our infrastructure.
And how many jobs are we talking here? I mean, what are you hearing from folks?
Well, our estimates right now is we are absolutely going to be in growth mode. Since 2008, the building trades as a whole, the 16 trade unions that I represent, lost close to, between retirements and people leaving the industry because of lack of work, people leaving the state, mm-hmm. Because of the economy, probably about close to 3,000 members. So what I see, looking, one eye on today and, 3 to 5 years out, we're going to get to pre-2008 numbers again.
Wow.
So we'll replace those 3,000.
Okay.
And then from there, by 2030, as this program is implemented, we will need to replace the 3,000 that will retire in the next 10 years, because mm-hmm. unfortunately the building trades as an older workforce, average age is somewhere between 48 and 52 years old in the building trade. So we got to replace what we lost, and we have to maintain what we're going to lose as this program works its way through.
And talk to us about the strength of the apprenticeship programs and recruiting younger Rhode Islanders. What's the status of that effort? Are you able to get kids in and say, great careers ahead of you, here's what you need to do? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think that this is a unique opportunity as well for young men and women that want to enter the construction industry. I've been in the construction industry for 30 years, and I've never seen the ability to look out for 10 years and have predictable funded work where you can say, if I can get in this industry, I'll have fairly decent gainful employment for the long term. We used to go on 2 to 4 year cycles just because that's what you could actually see was on the books and was funded. So the opportunity is there, as well as we have the training infrastructure. We operate the best apprenticeship programs in the construction industry. We are the professional construction workforce in the industry. So the good thing is that we have the capacity and the training infrastructure with state-of-the-art facilities to train that workforce. The tricky part is going to be identify, because that's a big number, and as we all know, The population is a little bit smaller. More and more industries are going to be looking to, attract a smaller population of people for their industries. So that'll be the challenge. But we're fortunate to have the training infrastructure in place and predictable employment for, close to a decade.
So you talk about the impact of Roadworks. Talk a little bit about 195. I mean, we're kind of waiting here to see some major development. How big of an impact is that going to have?
Oh, it's going to have a huge impact. I mean, unfortunately, in my world, things, take a little bit of time to happen. And nobody is more anxious than myself to see the, cranes in the sky
Yep.
and, workers on projects. But, there's a process, review processes, zoning, design, all these different hurdles that have to happen. So you will start to see, we're currently now constructing the pedestrian bridge, which I think will be a unique aspect of this city as people come and look at that area. Will make it attractable for companies to want to come. You've got the finishing up of the South Street Station project, the nursing school. We'll start the graduate housing sometime shortly. And then, you've got the Wexford Veritas, I believe it is now, project that will also, continue to just spur a focus on that area of the city. I mean, we have the land. It's my belief, again, Boston is, somewhat, I think, a little saturated at this point. And I think the secret is out that Providence and Rhode Island as a whole is on the move. So it's we're on the cusp of it.
And one of the things that I'd spoken with you about before you came in, again, the demolition of the Fogarty building, the hotel sort of industrial complex going on right here. We just talked about 195, but all the hotel growth, how many jobs are we looking at there?
Well, you've got the Karen project on the corner there in the old Triangle Parcel, which they're preloading the site now because of the unstableness of the site. So they'll stabilize that site and start construction there, as well as the Procaccianti project, which is the old Fogarty project. We've known for a while now that we've needed more hotel rooms in the city, which will then allow us to attract additional conventions and tourism to the Convention Center Authority. So we're excited about that. I mean, the projects themselves will spur construction activity. Probably looking at anywhere between 12 and 18-month construction schedules. I have a crew there right now that's doing the demolition. Before the actual tear down, we had men inside doing all of the lead and asbestos remedial work that you couldn't see from the outside. So there's already activity happening, and once that site is prepared, we'll start construction there as well.
I know folks had asked, and they even asked me about that. They said, oh my gosh, there was a lot of dust.
Yeah.
How much goes into the remediation, as you said, behind the walls before people actually see what takes place out there? Obviously, so much is done before we actually see what happens. How long does that take, and what does that look like?
Well, it all depends on the composite of the materials that were inside. Some have lead, some have asbestos, some have combinations of both. Depending, it could be floor tile, ceiling tile, could be pipe coverings, etc. So before a structure can be demolished, that site has to get a clearance by the Department of Health through air monitoring and clearance that all of that hazardous material, any type of airborne particulate has been removed before you can do any demolition of a structure, whether you implode it or you take it apart by the grappling system they're using now, or a wrecking ball. There's so many ways to tear things down.
What's a grappling system?
It's kind of like a lobster claw, they call it, and it just keeps eating away at the building. It's like chewing on the building slowly. Yeah, and it just keeps going around in a circle till it's gone. The old way that we remember seeing is the proverbial ball. You just keep swinging
the wrecking ball.
The wrecking ball into
This is a little more effective, a little more.
And larger structures and where it's cost. Where it makes sense cost-wise, bigger structures, and we have the ability to do it, they would just implode them like we did. I think the last implosion we did was the old Narragansett Electric, speaking about South Street. We imploded that old structure.
That one.
Yeah.
Just boom.
Yeah, boom, it fell down a big pile and cleaned it up.
So between Roadworks, between 195, between hotels in Providence, what's your sense? I mean, you're talking about labor numbers returning to pre-2008 levels. Are you heartened on the state of the economy, both here and statewide? So, the activity taking place in Providence and across the state.
I am extremely optimistic. My members are optimistic. All the indicators that I see, speaking with developers and construction companies and architectural firms, engineering firms, permits and applications are all of those indicators are trending up. Everything that's been done at the General Assembly over the last few years with the Commerce Corporation. You mentioned the I-95 district with Roadworks. I mean, there's no one single thing that will bring the economy back. It's a combination of all these things at once that will have the effect that we need to have. But there's one thing that's going on that we still need to address, and it's been a hot button issue in a lot of areas. In Burrillville, I was at the City Council last night, and that's the cost of energy in this region. And that could be something that could stymie the things that we're mentioning. So we really need to get a handle on a practical solution. The building trades are not climate change deniers. We obviously believe in it. We are proponents of, green jobs. Jobs are jobs. We don't care if they're green or any other. We were absolute supporters and interveners for the Block Island Wind Farm. I'd love to see, hundreds of turbines spinning someday in the ocean, and have a practical transition where we all want to get, which is green renewable energy. But we still need to you can't just turn the switch and go from here to there. It's not going to happen that way.
Well, we just had someone in from Burrillville on the other side of things talking with us about it yesterday, and how recent meeting this week, they're kind of taking a look at the Johnston Water supply and how that's going to, and he said that's going to slow up the process. How much does slowing up the process of Burrillville impact the labor trades?
Well, I think the general public has to realize is that slowing up or stopping a project of that magnitude will actually have, if they're truly looking to reduce the impact on the environment, will actually, for instance, make a power plant such as Somerset stay online longer, which burns coal. You've got Pilgrim Nuclear, which is coming offline. You've got Vermont Yankee, which is coming offline. You've got Ocean State Power that's in Burrillville right now, which when this plant is built, and I'm hopeful that it will be the most efficient plant in the country. Ocean State Power will not run simultaneously. So the less environmentally friendly plants go to the back of the line. The most environmentally friendly, such as the new one, will go to the front of the line. If you don't have those plants online, then we'll just continue to upgrade and refurbish the old plants. So it actually has an adverse effect. And I actually worked on Ocean State Power personally in my early 20s. We need the energy, we really do. And when you got 3 major power plants coming offline, there was also talk. I was down in meetings in New York, in my regional capacity with my brother and sister locals from the building trades. They're also talking about Indian River. For the first time I've heard in the Northeast, things that you usually hear out in the West Coast, which is if they don't get a practical solution to replace those megawatts of that nuclear power plant, which I think is 20 or 30 miles north of Manhattan, you will start to see blackouts in the Northeast. And I think that, unfortunately, might be what's necessary to get people's attention that this is real. And we need to bridge from where we are today to hopefully to someday where we're 100% renewables, and maybe we only have to turn these plants on when we need to, here and there. We don't have to rely on them totally. But it's still going to take us some time to get from where we are today to there. And we're not against it. It's just, you just can't go from here to there. You saw how long it took us to put 5 out there. We need, 5,000 of them. So
talk to us, and you were in Johnston this week with citizens. Talk to us about that recent battle this week with the divestment.
Well, I mean, again, I think the tactics of the environmentalists, I understand what they're trying to accomplish. To have a specific bullseye on such a prominent company, especially in the city of Providence that's been here for 190 years, to send a message because they have some investment in a pipeline 2,000 miles away from here. I mean, we already have one empty building here in the city of Providence. Do we need another on the other end of Kennedy Plaza? It just to me, it just sends the wrong message. And every single bank, every single pension fund, if you've got money in a money market account, every single investment has some portion of energy investment allocation in any product that you invest in, 401k, I don't care what it is. So at what point does it stop? And again, if we're not practical on where we are and where we need to go, to use these type of tactics, I just think just lends itself for a long way for them to get there, as opposed to, and I've been speaking to quite a few of them and say, instead of always just being no or against someplace I'm at, why don't you come out and help me and promote some of the things I'm trying to promote? Like, for instance, the Block Island Wind Farm. I didn't see a lot of the environmentalists there with me. I know the building trades were there. I didn't see a lot of people, when we're supporting solar farms throughout the state, I don't see them crowd those hearings and say, we want this. There's always somebody fighting a solar farm, a wind farm, I don't care what it is. There's always somebody against something because, unfortunately, construction is a temporary inconvenience while it's being constructed.
You mentioned solar. I mean, how much of an impact does that have on the labor force, depending on whether it's residential or commercial? There's a lot of incentives being put forth. Does that provide a lot of jobs?
The solar technology now does not provide, a tremendous amount of jobs. The biggest job creation would be potentially the setting up of the site to make it ready for the installation. But they're pretty much, kind of plug and play type things. So there's not a lot of jobs. The other problem with solar, specifically in this area, is Rhode Island's a small state. We don't have huge swaths of acres and acres of land to put panels everywhere. So my belief is our best case scenario going forward for renewable energy is, again, offshore wind. And because even on land turbines, we don't have a lot of
and you saw what happened at Salty Brine Beach with the wind turbine.
Well, the ones out in Block Island are substantially bigger.
Yes, those are bigger and stronger. Well, as you mentioned, the offshore versus onshore.
And those projects create quite a bit of jobs, high-paying, high-skilled, blue-collar jobs. And it's our hope that, with that and hopefully the next project that we're currently working on with Deep Water, which is the 15-turbine project for Long Island, that a lot of that work and those components will be assembled and maybe even the foundations be built here in Rhode Island. And that was why we were in favor of it, not just to build the 5 and then other projects, but if we could and be the first in the country, create a manufacturing industry here in Port and Quonset and create more jobs.
I do believe Jeff Grabowski is supposed to be here, I think, next week.
Good friend of mine.
With Josh Fenton on the Business Mondays to talk about the business side of it. So we'll hear a little bit more about hopefully Deepwater on next Monday. And I know you're busy and I know you got another meeting to run off to. But tell us, I know we talked a little bit about the leadership change, but that aside, the agenda this year up at the State House. You're often up there. You're registered to lobby. What's in your agenda this year? What do you see as critical from a General Assembly standpoint that you're supporting and pushing for this year?
Well, obviously, it's a reasonable budget. Well, we, as the private trade unions, always keep an eye on the economy and make sure that it's a fair budget and that we always want to keep an eye on the tax structure as well. Business is not the enemy of labor. Business employs my labor. So we're forward thinking on that. I meet quite often with Lori White, the president of the chamber, and we discuss different things. We don't agree on everything, but I give Lori and the chamber a lot of credit that we've come together on things that will just continue to just focus on the economy. I mean, we're pretty simple. It's about the economy and it's about jobs. So anything, whether it's the budget, any singular piece of legislation, any omnibus type legislation that's up there, that's put in, anything that'll help promote and continue the Rhode Island's comeback and get where I believe everybody wishes Rhode Island is, which is a vibrant economy and people that want to stay here and turn around the population trend. We support that. So it's anything, all of the above. Whatever has that as its end goal, we're in.
You're there. Well, I know you're looking to get up there to talk about the power shakeup that's happening right now. So I'm glad that I was able to get you down here, Michael. Yeah. And hopefully we'll talk soon. But just wanted to give folks sort of that overarching sense of where things are at. And as you said, numbers are looking to get back to pre-2008 levels.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll continue to talk with you, and if you have any updates or things, any projects you want to come in here and let folks know about here in the studio, would appreciate having you back.
And I'd love to come back sometime. It'd be my pleasure, and I appreciate you having me.
Okay, Michael Sabitoni,
nice
President of the Building and Construction Trades Council here in Rhode Island.